Every legend has a beginning, but for Mohamed Salah, it wasn't in a fancy stadium, but in the small, humble village of Nagrig, Egypt. Nonetheless, from a young age, one thing was clear. His desire to play football was huge. So much so that at just 14 years old, Salah spent 4.5 hours travelling each way to train with Al Makaloun in Cairo. That's 5 different buses every single day just to get to training. He'd leave home at dawn and not return until after midnight. His days became a relentless cycle of buses, football, and exhaustion. Yet no matter how hard it got, Salah's determination to succeed pushed him through it all. And that's because his coaches at Al Makaloun immediately noticed something special: his speed, drive, and technical ability. But it wasn't just his raw talent.
Work mentally. The work mentally is much more difficult than you work physically. I work in the gym almost every day, 1.5 hours. Sometimes I go home, most of the time I go home, I work again. But it's so hard to keep working in your mental thing 15 minutes every day. It's so hard. It's really tricky, trust me. I've been doing it for a few years, and I'm telling you, just you sit with yourself alone for 15 minutes before you sleep or when you wake up is much more harder than you do the gym every day for 1.5 hours.
Salah had a mental toughness that set him apart from the rest. By the time he turned 15, the club's first team manager Mohamed Radwan couldn't ignore him any longer. Salah was promoted to the senior squad, becoming the youngest player to debut in the Egyptian Premier League. At first, he played as left back, but his defensive work rate was impressive, but something still wasn't clicking. The coaching staff decided to experiment a bit, pushing Salah higher up the pitch, and what they saw changed everything. Salah's pace and eye for goal was simply too good to be wasted in defence any longer, and so from that moment, Salah became a goal machine. His hunger for scoring was unlike anybody else in the league, so much so that after a game where his team won 4-0, Salah sat in the changing rooms and cried. Not out of joy, but because he hadn't scored. This was the mindset of a teenager who wasn't satisfied with just being part of the team. He wanted to be the best. One thing was clear though: the hours spent commuting, the sacrifices of his childhood, it was all starting to pay off. But then, disaster. Mohamed Salah's life was forever changed by a tragedy that rocked Egyptian football to its core. The year was 2012, the year of the Port Said Stadium disaster. An event so catastrophic that it shook the foundations of Egyptian football. The tragedy took place during a match between Al Masry and Al Ahly. What should have been an ordinary game spiraled into chaos as home fans stormed the pitch, attacking Al Ahly supporters. The stadium then became a war zone. As rival fans tried to flee, they found the exits locked, leading to a deadly crush. By the end of the night, 74 people had lost their lives and over 500 were injured. This wasn't just a football tragedy, it was a national crisis. The Egyptian Premier League was immediately suspended and the season was ultimately cancelled outright. For many, football seemed to be over. Top players fled the country and some even retired. Egypt's once dominant national team was in complete shambles, failing to qualify for the African Cup of Nations for the first time in decades. And so for Salah, this was a moment of uncertainty. His entire world had been football. He sacrificed so much to make it work out, and now it was all gone. For months, there were no matches, no training, and no goals to score. But this period of despair would set the stage for a pivotal moment in Salah's life. You see, in March 2012, a friendly match was arranged between the Egyptian under-23 team and Swiss club FC Basel. It was meant to give the young players some game time amidst all the chaos. Salah didn't start the game and had to watch as the first half unfolded, but when he was brought on after half-time, he saw an opportunity to change his life for the better. The world had thrown him a lifeline, and he wasn't about to waste it. He scored 2 stunning goals that caught the attention of Basel scouts. Basel's president even later recalled being mesmerised by Salah's performance, calling it one of the most unforgettable displays he had ever seen. Thus, they invited Salah to stay in Switzerland for a week of training, and just a few weeks later, they offered him a contract. But this was only the beginning of the challenges he would face as he adapted to a new country, culture, and level of competition entirely. Still, his journey to greatness was officially underway. However, it was far from an easy start. Salah was seen as a replacement for Xherdan Shaqiri, the local star who had just left for Bayern Munich. And so replacing a fan favourite added pressure, causing Salah to initially struggle to meet expectations. Nonetheless, his hard work on the training ground began to pay off. In his first season, he found the net 5 times in the league, but it was on the European stage that Salah truly started to shine. In the quarterfinals of the Europa League facing Spurs, Salah scored a crucial goal to help Basel secure their place in the next round. Although they ultimately lost in the semi-finals against Chelsea, Salah made an impression by scoring at Stamford Bridge. It was a moment that put him on the radar of top European clubs, including the Blues. From there, Salah's performances continued to impress. His pace, agility and goal-scoring ability made him a first name on the team sheet for Basel, helping them win the Swiss Super League title. By the end of his time spent in Switzerland, Salah had bagged a very respectable 21 goals in 95 appearances across all competitions. Thus, in January 2014, Salah's hard work paid off in a big way. Chelsea came calling, offering Basel £11 million for their Egyptian superstar in the making. The winter move was meant to be the crowning achievement of his career, joining one of the Premier League's most successful clubs at the time under the guidance of the one and only Jose Mourinho seemed like a dream come true, but the reality was a nightmare. From the outset, Salah's game time at Chelsea was limited. Despite showing flashes of brilliance in early appearances, like scoring against Arsenal in a 6-0 win, he struggled to earn consistent playing time. After all, Chelsea's squad was stacked with attacking talent such as Eden Hazard, Willian and Oscar at the time. Therefore, Salah ended his debut half-season at the club with just 2 goals and 2 assists in 10 appearances. To be honest, it's not awful, but far from enough to secure a starting spot as their new star. Then the following season, things went from bad to worse. Salah found himself on the periphery of the squad, making just 3 league appearances in the first half of the 14-15 campaign. Mourinho even publicly criticised Salah's performances, and so by this point, the writing was on the wall. One poor showing against Shrewsbury Town in the League Cup prompted Jose to bench Salah indefinitely, as rumours circulated that the manager had lost faith in the young Egyptian entirely. Not just him, but the fans too. The brutal assessment Jose gave to Salah in the changing room was so bad that the player was even reduced to tears. It looked to be the end of Salah's European dream already, one he had fought so hard for. Or was it? Could he find a way to prove himself again? Well, enter Fiorentina. The Italian club, looking to bolster their squad, offered Salah a lifeline in February 2015, taking him on an 18-month loan as part of a swap deal for Juan Cuadrado. It was the chance to revive his career he'd been looking for. Upon joining Fiorentina, Salah chose the number 74 to honour the 74 victims of the Port Said Stadium tragedy, a reminder of his roots and the journey that brought him to this point. Then, within weeks of his arrival, Salah scored his first goal for Fiorentina against Sassuolo and provided an assist in the same game before quickly becoming a fan favourite. Salah's redemption arc then reached its peak with standout performances against Juventus in the Coppa Italia semi-finals, where he scored both goals in a 2-1 first leg win. He also netted crucial winners in matches against Inter Milan and Tottenham in the Europa League. It became clear that Fiorentina's faith in Salah reignited his confidence, as his performances silenced the doubters who had questioned his ability to compete at the top level. And so by the end of the season, the Egyptian winger had bagged 13 goal involvements in 26 appearances, re-establishing himself as a talent worth keeping an eye on. It was the beginning of a journey that would redefine who Salah was in the eyes of the entire footballing world. But despite Fiorentina's offer to make the loan move permanent, Salah wanted to aim higher, and that is when Roma came calling with a more attractive proposal. However, the move sparked controversy, with Fiorentina filing a complaint against Chelsea, alleging that the club had breached their agreement by allowing Salah to leave for Roma. However, FIFA eventually cleared Salah and Chelsea of any wrongdoing, allowing his career to move on to the next chapter, as it was here at Roma that Salah found the perfect environment to elevate his game. Joining in the summer of 2015 on an initial loan, Salah quickly adapted to the team's tactical setup under Rudi Garcia and later Luciano Spalletti. To make things even better for him, Salah formed a great partnership with Roman legend Francesco Totti, one of his childhood idols, with Totti's mentorship helping Salah develop as a player. Thus, in his first season, he scored 15 goals and provided 6 assists in all competitions, earning him the club's Player of the Season award. The 2016-17 season, however, saw Salah reach new heights. He scored 19 goals and provided 15 assists in all competitions, and this growth at Roma did not go unnoticed. Europe's elite clubs began circling, with Liverpool emerging as the frontrunner. But here's the twist. Liverpool wasn't Salah's first choice. His struggles at Chelsea had left him unsure about a return to the Premier League, and so it was reported that Salah was initially reluctant to return to England. Liverpool, however, persisted, with Jurgen Klopp and sporting director Michael Edwards making a strong case as for why Anfield was the exact place Salah needed to be to realise the dream he had been working his entire life for. Thus, in the summer of 2017, Roma accepted Liverpool's offer and Salah made his way back to the Premier League. It was a move that came with a mix of excitement and doubt. After all, Salah had already tasted the Premier League with Chelsea, and it hadn't quite gone to plan. Critics questioned whether a player who struggled in England before could thrive in one of the world's most demanding leagues for one of the most demanding teams. But Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool saw something others didn't, a player on the cusp of greatness. The transfer from Roma had set a new club record at the time, with the Liverpool shelling out £36.5 million. It was a bold move for a club that had struggled to reclaim its status as one of England's footballing giants. And so could Salah really be the key to Liverpool's resurgence? Well, the answer came pretty quickly. On his Premier League debut against Watford, he scored and assisted, setting the tone of what would become a truly historic season. As Salah didn't just meet expectations, he shattered them completely. Week after week, he left defenders trailing in his wake, scoring goals of every kind. Thunder strikes, moments of pure genius, and even the easy ones. By the end of the 17-18 season, Salah had rewritten the record books. He'd scored 32 goals in the Premier League, breaking the record for the most goals in a 38-game season. His total for the whole campaign was an insane 44 goals across all competitions. As a result, he won the Golden Boot, the PFA Players Player of the Year, and the FWA Footballer of the Year awards. Furthermore, he was the driving force behind Liverpool's Champions League campaign. In the quarter-finals, Salah scored in both legs against Man City, before then delivering a masterclass against his former club Roma in the semis, scoring twice in a 5-2 win in the first leg. Liverpool's run to the final was a statement of intent. After years and years of mediocrity, the club finally seemed ready to return to the promised land, and Salah was at the heart of it. But in the final against Real Madrid, the dream once again turned into a nightmare. Just 30 minutes into the game, Sergio Ramos pulled Salah down in a controversial challenge, injuring his shoulder. Salah tried to carry on, but eventually left the pitch in tears. His pain was not just physical, it was the heartbreak of seeing his simply legendary debut season end in the cruelest way possible, as Liverpool ultimately lost 3-1. But Salah didn't let that define him. The tears of Kiev became the fuel for his fight back. In the weeks that followed, he underwent intensive rehabilitation to recover in time for the World Cup with Egypt, and while the tournament didn't go as planned for his national team, Salah was ready to fight for the top honours with Liverpool once again and make history. And history it was. The 2018-19 season saw Liverpool return to Europe's biggest stage, and this time, Salah was determined to succeed. He was instrumental throughout their Champions League campaign, with his crowning moment coming in the final against Tottenham. Just 2 minutes in, Liverpool won a penalty, and despite the weight of the expectation on Salah's shoulders, he stepped up and smashed the ball past Hugo Lloris. It was a moment of redemption both for Salah and for Liverpool, and it set the tone for the rest of the match. Liverpool went on to win 2-0, lifting their 6th Champions League trophy, as Salah's name was forever etched into Anfield legends. But he wasn't done. The following year, Salah played a pivotal role in breaking one of football's longest droughts, Liverpool's 30-year wait for a league title. He scored 19 goals and provided 10 assists in the league, helping the Reds clinch the title with 7 games to spare, a record in English football history. It truly was a culmination of all the sacrifices he had made as a child and all the hard work he had put in off the pitch as an adult. Whether it was the extra hours in training, reviewing his performances, or even analysing his missed chances, Salah made sure that he maximised his chance at success. However, whilst Salah's early years at Anfield were marked by his breathtaking goal-scoring abilities, what truly elevates Salah into the select group of Premier League legends is his transformation into a complete forward, a player equally adept at creating goals as he is scoring them. Key to this transformation was Salah's growing understanding of Jurgen Klopp's system. At Liverpool, he thrived as part of a fluid front three alongside Roberto Firmino and Sadio Mane. Whilst Firmino operated as a false nine, linking midfield to attack, and Mane provided the dynamic presence on the left, Salah became a hybrid forward. His role involved cutting inside from the right, exploiting pockets of space, and either unleashing devastating shots from his killer left foot or threading perfectly timed passes into those around him. But even then, his weaker right foot, once a limitation to his game, had become a weapon. In recent seasons, Salah has used his right foot more often and to a higher standard, making him even more of a defender's nightmare than he was before. It's what helped him become such a devastating playmaker. Teams know that he's such a big goal threat, and so Salah can often find himself double marked, but that simply leaves space for him to feed the ball into his teammates to take advantage of. No matter what, Salah will find a way to hurt you. But perhaps what's most impressive is how Salah has maintained his consistency. Season after season, he has delivered over 20 goals in all competitions and has regularly been amongst the league's leaders in assists. He's a truly generational talent who has redefined what it means to be a modern forward as the Premier League's all-time leading African goalscorer and Liverpool's top scorer in the modern era. Even a Sky Sports supercomputer calculated Mohamed Salah as the 4th best Premier League player of all time. Yet as we stand in 2025, Salah's future hangs in the balance. With his contract set to expire, fans can't help but wonder, is this the final chapter of Mohamed Salah's Liverpool legacy? Well, if this truly is his last season at Liverpool, he's currently leading the way alongside Liverpool's next generation to pick up yet another historic league title. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure you leave a like, subscribe and ding that notification bell, and whilst you're at it, you may as well click this video on your screen right now.